Welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. Yes, it is 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and you got to look at my mug. Yes, I am here. Happy to have you, as always, the Sharpe Way. Please do what I always ask you to do. Like, comment, share. I would like you to like, comment, and share so that others will see what cool stuff we are doing, so that others will want to join us and be super cool like we are super cool. And if you like that, you want to make sure that I do more and more of this, I would like to also then support the show, patreon.com/sharpeway. If you're getting those big Trump bucks, I hope you are. Throw me $100. If you're not, no worries. You can throw me $10 if you want to. Oh, good, $25. Nice and wonderful and awesome. But if you don't have the cash, also okay. Head on over to theadvocates.org and take the human respect test. The link is actually in the show notes. Just click that link. Takes you right there. It's 3 minutes. It's done. Share the human respect test. Let people know what's going on. It makes my sponsors happy. It makes me happy. And it's free. Really, can you beat that? You can't. You can try, but you can't. It's 3 minutes. Everybody's happy. And if you are someone who thinks that CBD products is part or should be part of your health regimen, head on over to grownselection.com. Type in Sharpe Way 20 when you make your purchase. Get 20% off. Make my sponsors happy. I think that'd be amazing. Today, we are back to last weekend today. Yes, these are the last days of Trump, right? The last days. Tomorrow, Mr. Biden takes over, becomes President Biden. Or used to be Vice President Biden, now becomes President Biden. Trump keeps the title of president. He'll be President Trump still, but he won't be the active president, obviously. So he shifts. People are talking about what should he do? What could he do? What's going on? What's his legacy? Who should he pardon? Right? All those different things. And really, if you look at the weekend shows, that's what they talked about. They talked about his legacy from the Capitol attack, who is he going to pardon, all those things. And I want to bring up, if I can, Lindsey Graham. He was on Fox. I think it was it Fox News Sunday? No, it might have been Bartiromo's show. He was on that. I'll bring it up now. And he talked about what he thought about the Trump legacy.
I want to get back to Joe Biden in a moment. I know that you had a message for President Trump this morning, Senator.
Yeah, Mr. President, your policies will stand the test of time. You're the most important figure in the Republican Party. You can shape the direction of the party, keep your movement alive. We need to understand that.
Look at the thing that I feel so bad about so many Republicans. Not necessarily Graham. I'm not really a Graham fan. But so many Republicans now find themselves in a really tough spot. How far do you support Trump? How far do you throw him under the bus? How far do what do you do, right? You're worried about his wrath after. You're worried about what he'll do now. You're worried about a lot of people still support Trump. So you're worried about your voters. You're worried about all those things, right? Look, Graham has put himself into all kind of pretzels to decide where he stands. So him, I don't feel sorry for. Some of the Republicans, wow. That's something that Trump has done while I'm sure he was doing what he thought was going to work, he did wind up hurting a lot of the people like Lindsey Graham who were supporting him. Now they're jumping through hoops now. So watch this.
These are difficult times. I appreciate what you did Thursday. There are a lot of people urging the president to pardon folks who participated in defiling the Capitol, the rioters. I don't care if you went there and spread flowers on the floor. You breached the security of the Capitol.
You actually went to the Capitol, so I don't care about anything because you got to pay now. And the piece I want to bring up here is most of the people who are in power now, particularly the establishment people who've been around for a while, the vast majority of them are lawyers, but not all, but the vast majority are. And once you've been around, the idea of government becomes far more just the idea of government or a job. It becomes literally a religion. And these people, all of them, Lindsey Graham included, and this is Democrats and Republicans, this is establishment politicians, period. They wind up becoming priests of the religion. Just the religion's more important than any individual, right? The church matters more than the individual, right? They all become that. So he used the word defile. He meant that when he said that. You have defiled the holy ground that is my church, my temple. And he's not happy about that. So he wants to keep Trump happy, but he can't abide the people who defiled his church. And he wants them all punished. And his words are, if you even got there, and that means if you went in and looked around and said, look at this place, boom, max. He said, furthest extent of the law. Maximum hammering is what he said. Now, the problem I have with that is he's gonna now say, well, Trump egged him on. Well, if Trump egged him on, then you can't logically say, well, Trump egged him on, but Trump, you're awesome and great, but punish these people to the maximum. Those two things don't work. Either say Trump egged him on and be lenient. That would work. Or Trump didn't egg him on and then punish them. Either of those two could work, but he doesn't do that.
You interrupted a joint session of Congress.
Dare you?
You tried to intimidate us all. You should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and to seek a pardon of these people would be wrong. I think it would destroy President Trump.
Now, he said how good Trump is, but he said you can't pardon them. Now, there's a veiled threat here that a lot of people didn't get. The people are wondering why Trump's not actually doing all these pardons. This is the reason, in my view, that Mitch McConnell even brought up the idea of, well, I would consider this, and why Lindsey Graham saying this. They can abide Trump doing this thing and leaving. They can. They're okay with that. They're not okay with the defilers. So this is how government works and the priests work. You went into their temple. Now, Democrats and Republicans, all of a sudden, they join forces. Punish everybody who defiled our church. Punish anybody who defiled our temple. And that includes Trump. Because if Trump pardons these people, Lindsey will turn on him. And so will McConnell. That's my view. If Trump actually goes, I'm going to pardon those guys, they will literally convict him in the Senate. Because at that point, he will be a heretic. At that point, he will have gone against their religion. And they can't have that. They can't have infidels. This religion is stronger than party. I know you might think I'm crazy, but you see it here. He literally threatens Trump. It will ruin the president. This is a veiled threat.
And I hope we don't go down that road. They chose to go into that Capitol, defile the Capitol. President Trump never said, go into the Capitol and try to interrupt a joint session of Congress.
That's how he decides to make that shift. As well, the president said, go do bad stuff, is what he says. But then he didn't say, go in and defile. Who would say that? And that's why if he pardons them, Lindsey Graham and the priests, all of them will say, the heretic said it's okay to defile our temple, punish them all.
That was the choice they made, and they need to live with that choice.
Have you ever wanted?
Yes, and now all of a sudden, I actually did not want to have anything that this guy wanted to give me. So yes, that was YouTube, guys. But that's what I wanted to bring up, right? This is an issue that I think a lot of people aren't getting. That this is about the church. This is about their religion more than even party. More than party. I think that's one of the reasons why Trump has been so quiet right now. He's not really doing much because he is worried. Absolutely. He is concerned. Let me grab some comments with it real fast if I can. There is a better chance that Trump pardons Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, before Assange and Snowden. I'm going to cover that piece, Aaron. You kind of jumped the gun on me on that one. I got something on that too, but sadly, you're right. I wish you were wrong, but sadly, I think you're right. Yes. I'm old enough to remember when the media called Trump a dictator for having the military in D.C. Aren't we all, Pete? Aren't we all? Yes. The Viking horns guy already has a higher approval rating than Congress. That's true, right? Congress is a very low approval. And this is the part that's broken for most of us. For most Americans, people can't stand Congress, but they like their congressman. So how do you get them out? You don't, right? That's the problem. But yeah, but this is my point. This religion that I'm bringing up, this idea of being a priest of this cult of government, literally is more important than approval ratings. Again, I'm not joking on that. This is more important than approval ratings. They would sacrifice approval ratings for the temple. And I think you see it there, right? Lindsey Graham is a wishy-washy sack of garbage. I would get that. Yeah, he has twisted himself in all kind of pretzels. First calling Trump the evilest guy. Remember the horrible things he called Trump? Then he's like, he's the best. Now he's like, he's an important president. Then he's like, whatever. I'm not sure where the hell he's going next. Right. Damn right. They committed a crime. Stop making silly arguments. Trump egged them on, and they chose to break the law. That actually lands, right? If you say it that way, at least that's an argument that someone can make. I'll buy that. Yes, here's your argument. Okay. Graham. Oh, he's like, well, they didn't, but they did, but he didn't, but they did. Yeah, go one way or the other. And here's going to be a problem with so many. For those who try to stay on that sideline, they're going to struggle. Those are the people who are going to maybe win their primary, but lose the election. That's what's going to happen for those types of people. You just got to do one or the other. You got to jump on the Trump train or off the Trump train. At least people get where you are, right? They'll get it. Okay, this guy's turned on Trump, or this guy hasn't. Okay, we got it, and we can handle that. And believe it or not, we actually respect it more, even if you're against us, right? If you're against me, whoever I am, you're like, I'm against you. Okay, you're against me. Got it. I get that. Or you're for me. Okay, you're for me. Got it. But it's when that wishy-washiness comes that now we start to be concerned. I think they should have actual arguments one way or the other, right? I agree with you. Yes. I'm good with him saying both Trump egged them on and punished them politically. Again, Steve, that's an actual argument. Yes. Both are good. Yes. Worried about destroying Trump? He's done, dude. I'm not worried about destroying Trump. I'm not. What happened. I'm moving forward. I'm personally not worried about them destroying Trump, but I think a lot of Trump supporters are, right? I've been open with who I voted for months ago. I've already said I voted for Joe Jorgensen. That's what I did. And I was going to do that months ago. So that's not what happened. I knew I was going to lose. So destroying Trump is not about me personally. It's about Republicans who supported Trump, right? And clearly, if you support Trump, you don't want Trump destroyed. That's why you support him, right? Clearly. So the problem is there are a lot of Democrats who think, oh, yeah, that's a good thing. And it probably isn't. It's not good to gloat, is what I would say. So they already did turn on him. That's true also. The establishment, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to say, actually, I don't hate to say it. I did say this. I did tell you all this, that if Trump lost the election, I told you, the establishment will turn him immediately. Remember, the establishment Republicans never liked Trump. They got behind him because he won and he could get them what they wanted. But they never liked him, ever. And now that he lost, now stab him in the back, they can go back to what they thought. I think that's exactly right. So, all right. Hold on. See if I can keep going down here about that. It's our temple, so punish them all. Ooh, Steve. Nice, my friend. That's a good one. I like that. Nice. There we go. Why is politics religion today? We don't get our rights from, I'm assuming you're going to go with government. Yes. Okay. Yes. I think because we've made it that in a way. And there's a part, this is years ago, that someone who I respect tremendously told me this. He said, Larry, you got to understand something. The way fractured media is, and I've been talking about fractured media for, again, years, how the media is more and more fractured. And I was telling him about this, how the media is so fractured. Everyone goes into their own bubble, into their own silo. We only hear certain areas like this and like that, and we don't do this, we don't do that. People don't have a TV anymore. They only watch this or they watch that. He said, because of that, you're going to find people like politicians become almost like rock stars, the rock stars of the day. And I said, okay, I hear you, but why? And he said, because they're the ones who can easily cross all media. And I was like, that is correct. Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And I think you see that now, right? Can you really think about a very popular movie star recently? There aren't many, right? Because they're either on Netflix or you're not watching movies anymore, or they're on Amazon Prime or something like that. But politicians cross it all. They're on everything. They're on YouTube. They're on TV. They're on TikTok. They're everywhere. You find that the personalities are very different. So, yes. Libertarian Party will gladly take all disgruntled Republicans. I'm in, Pete. Come on in. We are here for you. Our tent is wide open. Yes, wide open. These crooks have been defying the Capitol for years. Yeah, maybe Friars, thieves, right? Punish them all, right? I love that. I love that. Ryan, the building is owned by the tax-paying public. Every citizen in the United States should be allowed to go in if they want to. This is, for those of you, I'm gonna go a little bit on my anthropology background, a little bit on his history. If any of you can remember, or when you went to school, or some of you who still pay attention, when they talked about ancient Egypt, literally, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, right? Ancient Egypt had a series of deities, a series of gods they worshiped, depending upon, where they were, what city they were in, time of the empires, the pharaohs, all those things. They worshiped different gods. And temples would have some special area where the gods were supposed to be closer to the earth or something like that. And the priests would go into these temples. The people who supposedly were the people who, got the blessings or the curses from the deities or the gods, they didn't get to go in a temple. Only the priests could, because they were the ones who knew better. They were the ones who could talk to the gods, right? They were the ones who could do that. You regular peasants, you couldn't do that, right? Only they can. The priests can, and they'll do it on your behalf because they love and care about you. So you got to give them money so they can go do that, right? In fact, the early Christian churches were that way, right? Same thing. Only the priest could know this, and you got to give the priest money so the priest could talk to God. Right? The early churches were that. The early Christian churches were the same way. They had followed that same style. I think our modern government has followed in that same style, right? So the peasants of ancient Egypt and the early Christian churches, they paid all the money like we do for the taxes, but only the priest class got to go in and talk to the gods and to make the rules and to come back with the rules that, of course, the gods told them what the rules were. I think we've copied that, Ryan. We own it. But, we paid for it, but they own it. Yeah. I mean, that's the issue. So he sounded because he has no Twitter. Do you think that's really it, Hannah? I'm serious. I mean, I know you put a smiley face. Are you teasing or is that serious? I'm not sure, right? I mean, because he could just do a press conference every day if he wanted to, and everybody would follow it, and it would go on Twitter. People would live tweet it. I think they would. I don't know. I think they would anyway. So these spineless Republicans are only willing to criticize Trump and his clueless base after he's on his way out. I think that was my point, Eric. I think you're right. A lot of Republicans didn't like him at all, particularly establishment. They were not about him at all. But when he was president and he could help them out, they were like, Trump, my man, I love you. Oh, you lost? Bye. Yeah. Where were they the last 4 years sucking up to demagogue? Yes, I think many of them thought I can get what I want, and then they did that. Brennan says, an attack on the Capitol while they were counting electoral votes is an attack on all voters. They wanted to silence my vote and overturn it. So F them. I hope they get the vax. I get your emotion, Brennan. I do. My worry is there were literally thousands of people who went in there. I mean, are you going to put thousands of people in jail? We can. We've done it before, right? I mean, it's not like America can't do it. 100% we can. But what's the benefit, right? We take 1,000 of these people, put them in jail because they made an attack on the Capitol. And now what? They all become, so now I went to jail for X number of years. Now I love democracy. Now I'm a Democrat, whatever, right? No, I think they just get worse in believing that the system has screwed them. And that's what most of them believe, right? The system has screwed them. So now they believe even more the system has screwed them. Do we want to put some of them in jail? Yes, I think we do. All of them? I think Lindsey Graham is 100% wrong saying anybody who walked in there should get the maximum. I don't think it's the right answer. And Brendan, I think the answer is you get a couple of them symbolically, put them away so that somebody pays for it. The harshest guys who said the harshest things, who had the harshest, intentions, you put them away. And the rest you say, guys, look at what happens when you do this. It doesn't work. If you want to be heard, this is the wrong way of being heard. If you want to change the system, this is the wrong way of changing. Go change it another way. I think that's how you get the people to not double down on being this way. That's what I think. So every district is too scared of the other party to vote against the rep center. It's sad. Also true. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a very good point. I want to grab a little bit on Fareed Zakaria. Fareed this weekend talked a little bit about what can happen to the Trump Republican Party, as many Democrats are like, yay, it's over, we've crushed them. And I agree with Fareed here. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Trump did some damage, and that's true, particularly the last couple of weeks, but I don't think the party's finished at all. But maybe I'm wrong. This is what Fareed thinks.
Could it be that Donald Trump has finally pushed the party to a breaking point? People assume that political parties are immortal, but they can and do die.
So he's saying maybe this is the end, right? But watch.
The Federalist Party was, in a sense, the United States' first political party, led by Alexander Hamilton and John Adams. But the party veered into authoritarianism and lost any ideological consistency or integrity.
What? A party falls into some kind of authoritarianism? What? I've never seen that before, except always.
And it finally withered after its opposition to the War of 1812, the first time the Capitol was stormed.
So wait, so you're saying that then they resorted to war and there was a problem? I've never seen this before.
Because it was seen as treasonous. The collapse of the Whig Party has closer historical parallels with today. Founded in opposition to Andrew Jackson, the Whig Party contained both pro-slavery and anti-slavery factions.
So a party was established to try to get away from what they believed was an authoritarian.
In 1848, it tried to paper over its divides by nominating a celebrity, a general, Zachary Taylor.
So wait a minute. So a divided party that hated one thing, that was united by what they hate, nominated a celebrity. Where have we seen this before? Where have we seen this before? The next step is for the Democrats to nominate a celebrity, right? That's the next stop. The next step. The Oprah is going to happen next, or something like that, right? That's the next one, right? So that's going to happen. Or what's the other guy who's always talking? Sean Penn, right? He's going to be the guy they nominate next, right? So some celebrity like that, the Democrats are now going to nominate. This is what happens when parties are more united by what they hate than what they stand for. And you know this to be true. If you self-identify as Democrat or Republican and you hang around those worlds, you know what united Republicans was their hatred or their fear. Maybe fear is a better one, but also maybe hatred of socialism. And Trump became the poster child for stopping the socialism, right? That he became the poster child for that. So they got behind him. What united Democrats? Democratic parties broke up into factions too. What united Democrats? Hatred of Trump. It wasn't they all think the same thing. They all hated Trump. So when you have a country and parties that don't stand for much, but instead are all united by what they either fear or hate, this is what you get.
A slaveholder who hadn't been involved in politics and was opposed by most of the Whig establishment.
Wait a minute. A popular guy who was opposed by the establishment? I've never seen that before.
Although he would go on to win the election, his nomination itself led anti-slavery Whigs to defect. Eventually, they helped establish the Republican Party.
So the Whigs were created because they were afraid of or didn't like an authoritarian. Then the Republicans were created because they were afraid or didn't like an authoritarian.
And by the late 1850s, the Whigs had shrunk into oblivion. Could these parallels hold today? Well, the modern Republican Party has long harbored several factions that live together uncomfortably. Libertarians, evangelicals, states' rights advocates. And
he put libertarians in the Republican Party. Did you see that? Boo! We're separate. We're not the same. Boo, Fareed.
And let's be frank, racists. They have been...
Had to add racist. Remember, he is a lefty. I know some of you get mad when I bring on Fareed, but the stuff he says makes sense. Get his data. I know some of you get mad.
Able to paper over the divides for decades. But in recent years, two factors have propelled the party into crisis. The first is that the Iraq War and the global financial crisis broke the back of the Republican establishment,
Democrat
opening
too.
the way for Donald Trump,
Yep.
who appealed not to discredited party elites, but to the base
Yep.
with the help of raw cultural and racial rhetoric. The second factor has
Yes.
been the increasing awareness of its leaders
Mhm.
that the Republicans are not really a majority party anymore.
This is the part I really wanted to bring up, which is important to understand, right? I know he has to beat up Trump because he hates Trump, and I get it. I'm not mad at him for it. It's who he is. What the part I want to bring up here is a lot of people don't get this. A lot of people don't understand. And I've been saying this for years, and now he's just validating what I've been saying. The country has been moving left heavily since 2008, 2009 crash. It's been shifting left. And as it moves left, the Republican Party has become a minority party. That's been happening for about 20 or 30 years, but a lot in the last 10. So I know a lot of people go, oh my God, there's nobody. They were like, Trump in a landslide, Trump in a landslide. I'm like, if Trump wins this thing, it's not in a landslide. The country is too far left. The percentages are too high. And here we'll continue.
In a trend unprecedented in American history, the Republican candidate for president has won the popular vote only once in the last 8 presidential elections.
Now, that's a lot of years, guys. Right? That's 30 years. Think about that. In 30 years, the presidential candidate has only won the popular vote once. And that's the point I wanted to bring up. There is a way for us as the Liberty Movement or the Libertarian Party or Libertarian Movement to begin to say, hey, start looking at us. Start looking at us now.
In 2004, in the wake of 9/11 and in the early days of the Iraq War.
Absolutely.
Nevertheless, the Electoral College and the...
So I don't need to go any further for this. I just wanted to bring that piece up to see that there are changes within America now that are actually that the country has been going left for a long time. However, now Democrats are going to control the majority of the country now, right? Meaning they're going to control the three branches of the national government. And I know people say, well, wait a minute. They'll lose, right, in the midterms. They always do. I don't know if they will. I don't. And there's, I guess, a good and a bad side to this. The bad side is I don't like one-party rule, Republican or Democrat. I'm sure if you're Republican, you're happy with Republican rule. If you're Democrat, you're happy with Democratic rule. I'm happy with neither. I don't want one-party rule, period. I don't want it. I think it's a terrible idea. I know many of you would disagree with me, but that's where I stand. I don't want one-party rule. I have it in my state. It sucks, right? I don't want that. It's a terrible idea. And by the way, I may bring up Bill Maher a bit later. He brings it up too. He lives in a blue state, and he's mad at his state too, and he's a lefty. So I'm not alone in this concern about this. We do need to have a vibrant democracy with different parties going back and forth, and we're not having it now. And my worry is what happens? Do we come to a point where the Republican Party is so internally broken that people can win the nomination but can't win the election, and then we only have one party rule? Now there is some warm and fuzziness here with the horrible response to the COVID lockdown. A lot of people are leaving cities and moving back out into suburbs and into rural areas. With that, there is a chance, I think a realistic chance, the country will begin to not shift left so fast and to come back towards the center or even towards the right, which now should hopefully break that up and get more Democrats, Republicans together to mix and match. And of course, if there was a decent third party, then everything would become better in general. Absolutely. So let me take some questions. I mean, some comments and some questions if I can. So, all right. See if I can keep going. Free Ross. Yes, Andrew. Absolutely. I do like your Killdozer picture there. You know, it's Ulbricht. Did I get his name right? Ulbricht, the guy who did Silk Road. Absolutely should pardon him. Should pardon Snowden. Should pardon Assange. 100%. They should all be pardoned without question. Yes. So I heard that Biden wants to place restrictions on lobbyists. I haven't read into it, but it sounds like a good thing. I'll believe when I see it, though. The problem you have is this is a branch problem, Paul, and not a root problem. The root problem is the tax code. That's the root problem. If you had a simplified tax code that wasn't 70,000 pages long or however long it is, it's something like that, then there'd be no need for lobby. Well, there'd be a reduced need for lobbyists. Most of these lobbyists are trying to get their dollars in some way through the tax code in some way, shape, or form. You simplify the tax code and just, X%, whatever that is, period. And a lot of those lobbyists go away. The other ones are looking obviously for regulations and such. But if you make a shift where you simplify the tax code, that cuts a chunk of lobbyists out. And the second piece is you change regulations into credentialing instead of regulations. And all of a sudden now the market begins to decide what's valid credentials and such. So lobbyists now have to not only go to DC, but they also have to go to other organizations who also credential. It becomes a whole lot more expensive, right? And also you can't control all of these organizations. Finally, the more you decentralize, the better it is also. If you decentralize, right now, if you go to Washington and you're able to lobby to get your company to buy something or to sell some of the case may be, you got the whole country. Big deal. That's a lot of money. That's worth putting money into it. But if you actually had to go to each state or each group individually, that's a whole lot harder. It isn't worth it. So you will have less lobbyists. If you take those three things, you reduce lobbyists, probably 90%. If you could do those three things, those are roots that will make the branches die. It becomes not worth it. So they won't do it. So yeah, I don't trust. Whenever Biden says it'll just be more rules, which means the average lobbyist like you or I who wants to go, get something done will be punished by regulation and go to jail. But the large company that has, law firms that can get through everything, they'll be fine. The regulations will just punish the small one. That's all it is. So that's what will actually happen. So I hope that answered or dealt with your question, I guess, or comment. All right. Wokeness is a cult just as Trumpism is. I think you have a valid point there, Lance. The left isn't really a cult of personality. While Trumpism, if you want to call it the Republican Party, has become more of a cult of personality, the left is more of a cult of an idea or a concept more than personality, which is why when Democrat falls, it's easy for others to pick it up because they pick up the wokeness, right? I got the wokeness flag, so we can follow you because you have the wokeness flag. Anyone who wants to be a Democrat, somebody has to go, see, I'm woke, and then it's good. They, give their virtue signaling to the wokeness, and they can be okay in the Democratic world. The Trump world's tougher because Trump lost. So now, do you still support Trump? Do you not? Do you play the Lindsey Graham game and kind of bounce back and forth? It becomes a whole lot harder. A whole lot harder. So, see if I can keep going. Let's see here. Not you, Larry, responding to Graham's comments. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Still good. I'm glad. I'm happy to go back and forth either way. So, would you be in favor of a presidential pardon of Ross Ulbricht? There we go. I got his name right. Yes, I got it right. 100% yes, I would. As I mentioned, absolutely should. Yes. And Assange, Ulbricht, yes, absolutely. I believe he should pardon all of them. And to be forward, this, before the election, I was like, I hope he doesn't pardon them before the election. Because if he had pardoned Trump and Assange and Snowden, if Trump had pardoned Assange and Snowden and Ulbricht, a lot of libertarians would have voted for Trump. In which case, our candidate would have gotten even less votes. And she did bad enough. We don't need to pile on to that. But if he had done that, I think he might have won the election before. That might have given him enough libertarians who would have turned and gone and gone to him. Who knows? He might actually win the election. So, but it's over. Pardon him now. Pardon him now. I love it. Yes. As great as that sounds, we will still have to deal with 4 more years of corruption, foreign conflicts, and mass spending. Yeah, that's kind of happening either way, which is why, people wanted me to either get behind Trump or condemn Trump. And I was like, either way, Jimmy, we got this either way, right? And if you lean right, it's better. If you lean left, it's better if your guy wins, right? So if you lean right, it's better if Trump wins. If you lean left, it's better if Biden wins because they both lean your way. But you're still getting this. And if you lean right and you get Biden now, it's fine. 8 years from now, you're probably going to get a Republican, right? And if you like Biden, great, enjoy your time because you're probably getting Republican soon. And I keep saying that, right? Bush got us Obama. Obama got us Trump. Trump got us Biden. My only issue is the country going so far left? Is the country going so far left that there's no return? I hope that's not true, right? I want the country to be far more in the middle than I want it to be left or right. Absolutely. So I'm rapidly switching from a Democrat to Libertarian. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's what I'm trying to achieve. Lisa, when you say that kind of stuff, it makes me feel like I'm winning. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. So, all right. Let's see if I can keep going here. The local politicians should be the rock star. Everyone should know them. Very good point, Jay. On the money. Yes. But sadly, no one knows a local person. Yeah, this is, you're absolutely right. They should be. The sad part is they often aren't. You're right. Because the reality of it is local usually affects you more. I mean, that's the weird part. Your local politician usually affects you more. And we usually aren't sure who that person is until we're angry, right? I'm mad because I can't get my thing done that I want done. I'm going to call my local guy. Who's he? Oh, who's she? Okay. I think you're right. It's a very valid point. And which is one of the reasons why you see me constantly pushing for libertarians when they run to run local so that libertarians can win locally, gain some of that ability and some of that, oh, wow, that guy did something for me. And then maybe that guy can, or that gal can now win at a higher level. So I'm often asking libertarians who run to run for something local. You're right. Yes. All right. Let's see here. I did the human respect test. Thank you, Edward. I hope you shared it. Please share it to the best of your ability. Guys, you can just click that human respect test. You can just click the link in the show notes, click that, and boom, there it is. It's the human respect test. Larry Sharpe here, host of the Sharpe Way show, and boy, do we need to start coming together and healing now more than ever. Best way to do that? Respect. We got to respect each other so we can start to come together. How can we facilitate that? Head over to the advocates.org/human respect tests. Yes, there's a test for human respect. You didn't think there was? There is. Take that test. About 3 minutes. That's it. It's done. Share it online. Share it on your social media. Let other people see it. Let them take the test. Share it with others. Let's start talking about respect. Let's start talking about healing. Let's find the right answer for us to move forward. The advocates.org human respect tests. That guy is right. Yes. Click that link in the description. Head on over there. It's 3 minutes. Once you take a test, please share it. Let others see that you've taken it. It makes my sponsors very happy. It makes me happy. Yes, absolutely. So, Larry, talk about cryptocurrency. I am always talking about cryptocurrency. I've had cryptocurrency people on the show. I discuss it all the time. It's part of my policy for saving New York's education system is cryptocurrency. Absolutely. Big fan, like the idea of cryptocurrency. Not sure exactly if we want to ping it to $1 or to some form of currency, fiat currency or not, depending upon what we do. But I'm totally open to the idea. I do want to. Absolutely. Yes. So, if Trump did a press conference, then he would have to meet the press and the press would ask him questions. He's not willing to answer questions. Steve, I'm not sure that's true. I think if he just went out there and said, I have a statement, people would still live stream it. If he did an hour speech, I think they would still live stream it. I think people would right now, right? They would try to find ways. If you don't like Trump, you'd find ways of saying, see, he's guilty. And if you like Trump, you'd find ways of going, see, he's not guilty. I think they would anyway. I think he can still do it. So who's going to watch our inauguration tomorrow? Not me. I'll be working, but good luck, guys. I hope it works. Give them 2,000 hours of community service. I don't know if you're joking or not, or where your head is on that, but that kind of punishment is not a bad idea. I know some of you are going to be upset. I know some of you are. Some of the people who went there with the intent to hurt. Absolutely true. They see it in the tweets they did, in the social media, and the way they dress, what they brought. That's clear. Punish those guys, gals. I think most of those are guys, but guys or gals. Punish them. absolutely. Those are the ringleaders you've got to punish. Some went there to hurt. I really believe in my heart, and maybe I'm wrong, that most didn't. I think most didn't. And if some of them did some stupid things, I think community service is not a bad idea. They're not completely destroyed. It doesn't ruin their life. They've got to think about what they did. They got to realize, I hope they will realize that this is not the way to make change. So I'm actually open to that idea. I really am. I think it's a much better way of dealing with the average person who went and did something that really wasn't going to work and can't work. So, yes. Can you please, for the love of God, get Cuomo out of office? Try again, sir. Thank you, Sonia. I appreciate that. Sonia, thank you for supporting our party. I appreciate that tremendously. Yes, I will make a decision in the summer, and I will announce this summer whether I'll be running again. Thank you for your support. I appreciate that. So, yeah. All right. See if I can grab a couple more. Let's see. We should all read 1984. We're almost there. I agree. 1984, it's not bad to read that, and Animal Farm. Both of those books, great books to read. They really are. So, Sean Penn. You don't like Sean Penn? A lot of Democrats like Sean Penn. I guess you're not a Democrat, Steve. A lot of Democrats like Sean Penn. A lot do. They love Oprah. And they like Sean Penn too. So maybe isn't Sean Penn a Bernie guy? I think he is. Democrats like him. So yes. The parties may be separate, but there are libertarian elements in the Republican Party. That's a valid point. There are some. That's true. There are some in the Democratic Party too. There absolutely are. The issue that I have, and this is a personal issue, so I think a lot of people have had a similar issue who are libertarians. When Republicans get mad at me, they usually still talk to me. They want to yell at me, right? Republicans, when they're angry at me, tend to want to own me. They think I'm a lib and they want to own me and get mad at me and yell at me, but they actually talk to me. So they're actually more open to hear my message. So generally speaking, the Republicans are faster to come to us. They're also faster to stay Republican, but lean liberty. They're faster to do so. Democrats will also become libertarians. Of course, the lady just recently said she was actually moving towards libertarian. They do, but they tend to move slower because the Democrats, generally speaking, aren't trying to own the right. They're trying to ignore or dismiss the right. So usually when Democrats get mad at me, it's very often dismissal. It's always like, you're nothing, get away from me. They actually don't talk to me. It's why you've noticed that as I've gone out of my way to try to get people from the left on this show, it's hard. The right comes on my show a whole lot faster. They just do. They're like, okay, I'll go own Larry Sharpe or I'll go yell at him. They come, and most of them don't. I mean, they come when they're thinking I'm going to fight them, and I'm not. So when they realize I'm not fighting them, they don't fight. The left too. I've gotten left people on the show, but not as much, and it's a whole lot harder. I have to work twice as hard to get people from the left on the show. So I have found a difference in both sides in how they treat me and then others from the opposite side. So, all right, so if I keep going here. Both parties have become authoritarian, regardless of the left versus right scale. I think that's true. And the sad part is it's like a chicken and an egg. And what I mean by that is the left gets mad because they think the right is going to enforce their will upon them. And the right gets mad because they think the left is going to enforce their will upon them. So when the left gets in power, they start to enforce their will in their mind to defend themselves against the right. Well, then the right gets in power, it enforces its will because it wants to defend itself against the left. So now each one keeps enforcing its will in an attempt to defend itself from the other. But which one did either come first? But I mean, that is the perpetual issue, right? You see what Biden's already going to try to undo everything that Trump did, right? And Trump's already doing things to try to stop Biden. In fact, it's a perfect segue, Jimmy. So this is a piece. This I think was it Fox News Sunday? I don't remember when this was, but this was talking about this is a recent Fox News talking about the policy that Pompeo was just put in play here regarding the Uyghurs of China, right? And this is just recently.
A Fox News alert now. The United States leveling perhaps the most serious charge a country can face, accusing China in the last hour and a bit of committing genocide and crimes against humanity in its repression of Uyghur Muslims. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made the announcement just a short time ago. He joins us now for an exclusive interview. Mr. Secretary, good to have you with us.
Now, am I against this idea? No, I think China treats the Uyghurs horribly and has been treating Uyghurs horribly for literally decades, if not 100 years or more. They've been treating them difficult for a long time. Those who don't know, Uyghurs are Central Asian Muslims. Many of them look very close physically to Chinese. Some don't. Some of them look more Central Asian. Some of them look more Mongolian. And many of them became Muslims when the Khanates of the Genghis Khan swept across Eurasia. Many of them were converted to Islam in the 800s, 900s, from that time period when Islam grew. A lot of the area was Muslim. By the time the hordes of the Mongols came in, those areas were already Muslim. And a lot of those areas actually began to convert those people, and they became Muslims. So a lot of the Uyghurs are Muslims, and then they became Muslim back from the old, Mongolian Khanate era. So they've been treating them bad for a long time. But this is what I just talked about. This is the right thinking, man, Biden is going to be too easy on China. So I have to attack first as a preemptive strike to try to hold Biden back. This is what I'm talking about. So immediately he puts this up. It's going to piss off China. It's going to change things around, make things tougher. And now Biden has to reverse this. How is Biden going to look going, well, the Uyghurs, well, that's not going to look good at all. I mean, it just isn't going to look good at all. This was done to smack Biden as they walk out the door. And again, I'm not against the concept, but what took you so long? Like, I figured this out, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe longer. I don't remember. I know it's gotten worse recently. It's true. Now it's a problem. This was a preemptive strike. What I was just talking about with you, Jimmy, this is both sides being authoritarian, trying to stop the other. That's the issue.
Let me just read, if I could, from your statement. You said, quote, I have determined that the People's Republic of China, under the direction and control of the Chinese Communist Party, has committed genocide and crimes against the predominantly Muslim Uyghurs and other ethnic and religious minority groups.
You decided that today. That's my point. Today you figured that one out. Pompeo, where you been? Come on, brother.
A very significant declaration, obviously one that China will oppose vigorously,
but
also one that sort of runs counter to what President Trump's position has been for the last couple of years.
And that's my point. You had 4 years to figure this one out. I'm glad you did it. I want to be clear. I'm not unhappy about it being done. I'm just really unhappy that you waited 4 years to do it, and you're not doing it because you actually care. There's the part that kind of bothers me. Again, happy it's happening. I am. It's the right move, right? I want to give Pompeo and Trump credit where credit is due. It's the right move. I like it. But you're not doing it because you actually care. You're doing it because you're trying to stop Biden.
John, thanks for having me on. This is a very serious and tragic set of actions that are taking place there in the western part of China. We've been talking and working on this for an awfully long time in the Trump administration.
Awfully long time.
Sanctioned officials. We have told.
I think we can get off on that, but you guys see what I'm talking about, right? I mean, this is exactly what you're talking about, Jimmy. Both parties just fighting each other. That's the issue. That's why Democrats often feel shafted. They have to win big just to win a little. Brennan, this is a valid point. I just want to say it's a point on both sides. As I mentioned, for some of you know, I do a radio show in Western New York called A Free Solution. I do it every Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. And on the show today, I was talking about this idea that what MLK said yesterday. From his day yesterday, what he said. He didn't say anything yesterday. But what MLK said, one of his quotes that I used from yesterday was, violence or riots are the voice of the unheard. So when people feel shafted, they do things that people shouldn't do. And then when they finally win, they want to jump on the car and be excited because they won. And we need people to be heard far more, Brennan. That's really an issue. Yes. Josh, still waiting on Dems to bring up voting on ending no-knock raids and ending qualified immunity. See, Josh, that would mean actual change. And you're asking for too much. What we'll do is we'll fight culture wars that mean almost nothing. We'll do that instead. The culture wars that mean almost nothing to the individual, But boy, they feel good and they feel this and they feel that. That will do all day long. But we will not at all make any actual change. Yes. So, all right. Let's see if I can keep going. They will lose in the midterms. Libertarians and Republicans spoilers. You think that's true, Ron? I think there's some evidence of that. But the problem I have with that statement is that it puts the blame on libertarians. But the blame shouldn't be on libertarians, right? The blame should be on the Republicans and Democrats. They've made a system to where that's basically all we can do. They've created a system to where we have to be that way. They've made a system to where you have to be united more by what you hate than what you actually stand for. And now you make a system to where eventually your party becomes so authoritarian, you can't recognize it anymore, right? The amount of people I've seen swap parties just go nowhere is insane. And many of you know, my wife was a 20 some odd year Democrat. No more. She's like, this party isn't the party that doesn't support me anymore. She doesn't recognize it anymore. She doesn't recognize the Democratic Party anymore. So she's not part of it anymore. That's happening all over the place. I see it everywhere. But now Republicans too. How is that? How is the blame ours? I think your statement can be accurate and might be accurate, but it's not our fault. And that's the implication, right? That's the implication of your statement. Absolutely. I wouldn't mind one party rule for libertarian. I appreciate the idea, but even that would be a bad idea because then we would become as corrupt as all the rest, right? We would become corrupt just like all the rest would, right? So I love the concept, but 100%, we would wind up being the bad guys then, right? We wouldn't be able, no one would be able to recognize us. Yes. Larry, to get more political parties to end our first across the goal system. Yes, computer models have shown that such a system always leads to two parties. Agreed. I think we want to change that. I think we want to go to a ranked choice voting. I think we want to have a system to where executives look at the courts and say, stop keeping people off the ballots. I think it's another issue. Yes, the system is what makes this happen. You hear me say this all the time. People aren't this way. Systems, people respond to systems. If you make a better system, then you will have better actions from people. It's how it works. I completely agree. We have to make that shift to make it better. Completely. Yes. So I hope to God Trump pardons Assange and Showstone. I hope he would too. In fact, you know what? Let me cover that piece right now. This is something that actually Tucker Carlson was bringing up. If I can, I'll show that piece, talking about exactly that. Let me see if I can get this piece up here too. And he discussed this piece too. Hold on. Here, we will pop him up. And Tucker was bringing this up.
But when it does, when Democrats, Republicans, and the media all...
Hold on. Look at what his TM is. Standing up for what's right, trademark. Come on, Tucker. Look at that.
sound alike, all sing the same song from the same hymnal. When Nancy Pelosi talks about Venezuelan coups like the neocon she actually is, you ought to be nervous about that.
We should be nervous.
Institutional Washington is by far at its most dangerous when there's consensus, when it stops reflecting the will of the voters and starts defending its own interests without any opposition whatsoever.
This is what I'm talking about when it comes to the religion or the cult. This is what we're talking about exactly right here.
There may be no issue that unites the establishment wings of both political parties, other than fighting pointless wars,
they
more
both
than
love
this
that
issue. And here it is. Leaking classified information that hurts the permanent political class is a grave threat to national security. It must be stamped out.
Yep.
But leaking classified information that helps the permanent political class is an act of good faith. Son, you're getting a Pulitzer for that.
Absolutely.
So there was no problem when the FBI told the Washington Post that diabolical Vladimir Putin was secretly running our government. That was
okay.
Not a problem.
No worries.
Or when the CIA director gave classified information to the producers of Zero Dark 30, because that's Hollywood and they're our friends. But
well, Hollywood is cool. But I'm just kidding, guys. Look at that.
Those leaks implicate the people in charge. Oh, it's a national crisis and someone needs to go to jail.
100%.
And often people do go to jail. Julian Assange, for example, he's rotting away in a prison in London right now. Why?
Yep.
He published information that the U.S. government wanted to keep secret, not to protect us, but to protect themselves.
Yes.
Footage of an American helicopter gunning down 18 people in Iraq, including, by the way, 2 journalists from Reuters. Now,
here's my problem. Where was Tucker before on this one? Same thing. Now all of a sudden it's a big deal. But you know the other thing that bothers me, what Tucker doesn't say? Well, look, I want to give people credit where credit is due. Tucker's right on this, right? Assange should absolutely be pardoned. But you know who he doesn't talk about at all? At all. Snowden or Ulrich. Doesn't talk about either one of those.
He also publicized emails exposing corruption at the very highest levels of the DNC.
Yep.
Bernie Sanders voters may have been grateful for that. They got completely shafted and wouldn't have known it.
Absolutely. And that is my point about all of these guys, right? Tucker's talking about it now. Thank you, Tucker, for saying that. I appreciate it. But Tucker didn't mention Snowden at all. He only mentioned Assange and one other guy. I actually forgot the other guy. He mentioned some other guy. But he mentioned Assange and some other guy. I've actually forgotten his name. But he didn't mention Snowden. He didn't mention Ulrich. There are so many people that I believe Trump should be pardoning right now. He has a chance to do so when he can. And he's not. I wish he did. I wish he would. This is the time to do so, right? Do it now. I hope during this show I'm wrong and he's already done it. But I don't think he will. And here's the reason why I don't think he will. The same reason why you heard earlier in the show, I showed Lindsey Graham saying, don't pardon people. You heard him say it. Don't pardon people. It'll ruin you, Trump. That was a veiled threat to Trump. That's what it was. Mitch McConnell. Well, maybe I'd be in favor of removal. Who knows? All that leak was not because Mitch McConnell actually wants to convict Trump. He doesn't. That was a threat, a veiled threat. Trump, you mess around with our church. You mess around with our cathedral. You screw with our temple. We will brand you a heretic and we will remove you. Remember, the cathedral is far more important than the actual party. Those elites, they care more about elites than anything else. If Trump doesn't do those pardons and does his thing and walks away, Republicans will be fine, go away, all good, whatever, no worries. If he actually does pardon these guys, here's my opinion. And look, I've been writing a lot of this stuff coming up here, right? I predicted a whole bunch of this stuff. I'm going to predict this too. If Trump actually does those pardons, he pardons the people who came to the cathedral or anyone who attacked the church or the cult of government. If he pardons those people, Republicans turn to him and remove him. That's my prediction. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong. But that's why I think Trump is saying nothing. He's like, I'm keeping my mouth shut. Because if I say something, these guys will remove me. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut, move on, do my thing, and I'll go off and do whatever he's going to do in the coming weeks. That's my view. We'll see how right or wrong I am. Absolutely. So, Larry, do you think we should change the popular voting system to what the UK has? Think it'd be better for the third parties or worse? If it's good, do you think we get there? We could, but I got to go back, to what Brennan said. We really have to change the way we vote in general, and we have to make it easier to get on the ballot. It is not easy to get on the ballot at all. Not at all. That's the issue. I really want to make sure that we change how to get there. That's the issue. So, yes. All right. Did Tim Pool get bounced? I don't know. Is that a thing? Did they attack Tim Pool? I hope not. I don't really watch much Tim Pool, but they shouldn't bounce him. I mean, is he that bad is he saying people should be hurt or something? I don't remember Tim Pool ever advocating for violence. I mean, I don't think so. I don't watch a lot of his stuff, but I never remember him advocating for violence. I hope not. So I hope he's not doing that. So, okay. Let's see here. To be fair, Chinese cite the Saudi Arabian export of Sunni Wahhabism, which is the extreme ideology behind Al-Qaeda, ISIS, etc. So it's a valid threat. Genocide's a big claim, which requires big evidence. Valid point, Nate. This is a valid point, right? The Chinese are saying that what they're doing is trying to, deal with the radical elements within their country, and it's a terrorist issue. That's what the Chinese are saying. Do we actually know which one is true? It's about a point, right? Do we have the evidence of that? It looks from what I've seen that the Chinese are going way further than they should be. I see this similar to what America did in the 40s with Japanese Americans by putting them into camps. I see it in a similar light. We were scared of Japanese influence, and so we put them in camps. I understand why we did it, and it was wrong. I can understand why China would do it, and it's wrong. So I think either way, it winds up being wrong. But you're right. There may be a difference between those two. Absolutely. Yes. Preemptive strike is just a code way of saying aggression. True. Yes, it's true. Well done. I'll buy that. That's a good one. Yes, 100%. Let's see if I can do this. I think it was noble of him not to include any personal relationships like the Democrats usually pardon, but foolish to not preemptive strike. Because as we've seen, Trump underestimates the shallow cowardness of a Democrat. That's actually funny. I don't know, Tracy, to be clear about. He's got some time. He might still do some stuff. I don't really know. I'm not sure. Yeah. Libertarians, socially liberal and physically conservative. That's why I can support them. You've brought up a very valid point, Brendan. People often say, how in the world can libertarians win elections? How can they win? Well, because it's very rare for Democrats to vote for Republicans and very rare for Republicans to vote with Democrats. But either can vote libertarian, depending upon what issues they care about at that given time in their life. If a libertarian is strong enough and has the right issues for their area, libertarians can win. They can get votes from both sides. It's absolutely very true. It can happen. It doesn't always happen often because we don't have the infrastructure and those types of things, but absolutely it can happen. Yes. So, all right. Let's see here if I can keep going. I refuse to be united by hate. Lupe, thank you. That's amazing. I wish more people would be that way. China became Nazi Germany 2.0, which it's been very long, which we see how China been infiltrated the education system, the entertainment industry, the corporate news media, and bribed some politicians while the left and right fighting each other. Nazi Germany. I think there's a parallel. I'm not sure I would go Nazi Germany, though. I mean, there's a parallel with some, Han Chinese issues, but they're not militaristic in that regard. I mean, they do try to take over things, but they do it via the market and money. They don't use, guns and tanks and such. So I'm not sure. The camps, Uyghurs are really only Western China. And they also exploit their own just as much. It isn't just, the bad guy of the day, right? For the Germans, and that's Germany, it was either gypsies and, of course, notoriously, massively, the Jewish population. I don't see that in China. So maybe, I think I'm not sure I would buy it. It's close, maybe. I'm not sure I would buy it, though. Yeah. So, all right. Let's see if I can keep going. People talking about spoilers of it. Yes, absolutely. I'd vote for you for president. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that, Donna. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Yes. You can put lipstick on re-education camps. Put this to re-education camps. Valid point, Tom. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, libertarians are the best hope for change in gerrymandered districts. Just need more media exposure. 100%. We've got to do more and more and more. Yes. China is being China. They always forcefully assimilate non-Han Chinese. That has been a common thing in their past. That's true. Han Chinese, for those who don't know, Han Chinese are the largest ethnic group in China. Something like 90%. It's a big chunk of China. Not all, but it's a big chunk of China. Yes. Yeah. Larry, you've correctly predicted a lot more than QAnon. I like that. Very good. Very good. All right, so let me keep going down that road if I can. I want to see if I might get kicked off. So that's why I did this one for last. I'm going to grab a little bit of Bill Maher. Sometimes when I do Bill Maher, either Facebook or YouTube throws me off. Depends. So I'm going to try to not do that. Before I do that, I want to pick up this one piece, which is very important. Chris says, not a fan of the socially liberal branding. It implies that you yourself must be socially liberal to be in the party. And that may not be the best message to pick up Republican defectors. I prefer to use socially tolerant. Well, to be forward, I don't use either of them. I don't think you ever hear me say, socially liberal or socially tolerant or any of those things. What I say is you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force your view on others. But the party tends to be overall, if you just go with the party tends to wind up becoming kind of socially tolerant and kind of physically conservative. It becomes that kind of by default as everyone gets together. That's kind of how it ends up, if that makes any sense. But I don't use it because there are many people in the Libertarian Party who are hardcore conservative in almost every way, but they just want to be left alone. And you find many people who are hardcore liberal. They just don't think the government's the right way of making their utopia pop up. So you do find both sides in the party, right? Because they just don't think government is the answer to what they want. Generally speaking, you find the Libertarian Party leans the opposite of the establishment in that area. So the Libertarian Party in New York obviously is a blue state, tends to lean red, opposite of the state. The Libertarian Party in Oklahoma, red state, tends to lean blue. It doesn't mean everybody in Oklahoma Libertarian Party is leftist. I'm not saying that. But overall, the party tends to lean more left because we are the anti-establishment party by default. But that also goes to the National Party too. People have been mad that the party has been leaning left recently. Yeah, there's been a Republican president. Yeah, we go anti-establishment. Has the Libertarian Party now probably going to start leaning right again? Why? Democrat president. That's probably going to happen. You're going to see a lean. We're not going to go left or right. It's not who we are. It's not what we do. But I think you will begin to find that lean anti the establishment, right? Libertarian Party attacked Trump a lot. He's president. Libertarian attacked Obama a lot. It's going to attack Biden a lot. We are the anti-establishment party, and I think you're going to see that begin to happen again. But I agree with you, Chris. I don't use that branding. But if that branding gets someone in to talk to us or listen to us, I'm in, right? I'm in. Absolutely. The left drift of the United States can be attributed to urbanization. That's the biggest reason, Jason. It isn't the only, but you're right. It's obviously the biggest one. Even if rural voters voted in mass numbers, it does nothing. That's why I don't vote in New York State election, just local at this point. Yes, there's a big however on this one. With the COVID crisis and the response to it, the horrible government response, a lot of people are moving back out into the suburbs and into the rural areas. In theory, they should kind of go back to their more conservative roots. You will find them become a bit more conservative. So you should see a bit of a shifting back towards the center in the next couple of years. You should see that. We'll see if I'm right. But I think that's going to happen. You're going to see more of a shift kind of that way. I do think that will happen. So, all right, let me grab this if I can. This is Bill Maher. Bill Maher actually talking about some important things that he often doesn't practice, but he's preaching right here. Bill Maher is talking in this case about stop hating the individual voter, right? If you don't like that person, if you hate Trump, I get it. Lots of people hate Trump. I got it. He's a big personality, very easy to love, very easy to hate. I got it. Does that mean you want to hate the individual who either hates Trump or loves Trump? It's not helpful. And Bill Maher even says it. But then Bill Maher shifts into something which is amazing. He attacks single-party states to include his own California. This is Bill Maher, open lefty, Bernie supporter, Democrat extraordinaire, says we're not doing the right thing. We're screwing up, left. He says that. That's pretty damn good for Bill Maher. I like that. And he also talks about Ashley. I've actually forgotten her last name, the woman who was killed in the Capitol. He's like, she shouldn't have died. This shouldn't have died. And he's right. She shouldn't have died. I feel terrible that she died. I feel terrible for everyone who died that day. And I'm going to add it, the people who died during the summer riots and protests too. I didn't want any of them to die. And some of you got super mad at me when I said these guys did not deserve to die. You're like, it was a good kill. It might have been a legal shot or a righteous shot. It doesn't mean the person who took the bullet deserved to be shot. It can just be a tragedy. And that's what all of these deaths were. So I'm going to go a little bit and hope I don't get shut down when I do some Bill Maher. Bill Maher, HBO is like horrible on sharing any of their stuff. We'll see what we can get across.
I keep wrestling on this show with the hard question of how do Americans, all of us, learn to share a country with assholes you can't stand?
Yes. Yes. And the answer is Libertarian Party. That's the answer. I've given you the answer, Bill. And you know what? 20 years ago, you were a libertarian. What happened, man? Yes, that was actually the answer. That's what I mean by being as liberal or as conservative as you want to be, as long as you don't want to force your way on others. That's how we get along. That's how we survive, right? That's how we do it. What's the old saying? Fences make good neighbors. That's how you do it. You stay on your side of the fence, stay on my side. We're happy. Life is good, right? That's what drives me crazy. Bill, I hope you got that.
I've preached and still do that you can hate Trump, but not all the people who like him.
Yes, this is Bill Maher saying this, guys. Yes, he's trying to get his own Democrats to not be sore winners. It's what I've been saying. It's what I said months ago, because I didn't know who was going to win this election. And what I said was, if you win the election, please don't be a sore winner. It's not helpful. And if you lose the election, please try to look to the future. Accept the loss of this battle. Keep fighting the war that you want to move the country where you want to move in your direction, but realize this battle's over. Prepare for the next battle. That's what I've been saying. He's actually doing it for the left.
And as counterintuitive as it may seem, you can like something run by assholes without being one yourself. Just ask Chick-fil-A.
Yes. So even if your guy or your gal is a bad guy or you don't like him or they're mean, you can still like them and you don't have to be a bad guy yourself, right? There's a thing that I get all the time. I know a lot of Trump supporters in New York. Obviously, it's where I live, so I know many. And many of them will openly say, I wish Trump would stop tweeting. I heard that all the time. I mean, that was probably the most common complaint I heard from Republicans. Will someone take his phone? I heard it all the time. Will someone take his phone? Heard it all the time. They didn't like him. They didn't like what he was saying. But they preferred him to any Democrat. So just because he was a jerk on Twitter being mean doesn't mean everybody who supported or was behind him doesn't mean they were all jerks too. Some were, some still are. But most aren't. Most aren't.
There's been so much liberal happy talk this week, jerking each other off about how, oh, this is the end of the Republicans now. Yeah, just like Watergate was the...
Yes. Now he's taking what Fareed said. Remember Fareed from earlier? Everyone thinks it's the end of the GOP. He's like, no, it's not. Don't be dumb, right? They're not finished. It's not over. You still have to live with people. Stop being bad, right? Instead, realize they're just people. They're your neighbors, right? If you're a Trump supporter, there's someone in your neighborhood who thinks Biden's great. And if you're a Biden supporter, there's someone in your neighborhood who thinks Trump is great. That's kind of how it works.
The end of the Republicans, and Bush after Katrina was, and now it's Trump. Please, does anyone think that no matter who's running in 2024 on election day, it won't be extremely close? Oh.
Yes. That's, again, you got, I don't always get to sit here and agree with Bill Maher, but I'm trying to give people credit where credit is due. Look, the guy's saying the right stuff. I get it. I hope you're getting it too. Absolutely.
But anyone out there, a quadrillion zillion dollars it will be, because 74 million Trump voters are not self-deporting.
The best piece he just said, which I wish my Democratic left-leaning friends would just hear, is only one thing. 74 million people who voted for Trump are not self-deporting. They are our neighbors. They are our friends. Their kids go to school with our kids. They are Americans, just like all of us. And laughing and trying to pretend like they're going to go away or we won and they're gone. No, not at all. We need them. I say all the time how greedy I am. I want 7 billion libertarians. That's what I want. Starting with the 330 million in America. That's my kickoff point for the rest of the world. Starting with 330 million in America. I'll take whatever I get outside. It's fine. I'll take a couple people in Japan, a couple people in Australia, a couple people in Germany. I'll take a couple of them. But let's just keep going. That's the most important piece.
And neither are we. One of the casualties in this attack on the Capitol this month was Ashley Babbitt. She was
Babbage, thank you.
Trump-loving small business owner.
Yes, her. Absolutely. Right? She was a casualty. And he feels bad for her, as we all should. As we all should. She was doing what she thought was the right thing. That's what she was doing. And she got shot. She didn't deserve it. She did not deserve to be shot at all.
She had a pool cleaning company right down the road here in San Diego.
Entrepreneur.
She was an Air Force vet who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and she lost her life trying to prevent Biden from becoming president, even though she had voted for the Obama-Biden ticket not that long ago.
That's the part that I didn't know, and I am surprised that she was actually an Obama-Biden supporter 8 years ago. And she was that adamant against the two. Now, there's a part of me that understands that clearly. In 2008, 12 years ago, I did support Obama. I thought he was going to be the change. I bought the whole story. I was completely fooled. And within 2 years, I'm angrier at Obama than all the other votes I did in my life because I felt betrayed. So I get where she's coming from in that one. She probably felt betrayed. So did I. And I never went back because I really was burned then. I thought I bought the whole story of hope and change. I bought it and I was wrong and I was betrayed. And I think she felt the same way. But I didn't turn mine into violence to Trump. I turned mine into libertarianism, right? I took my shift into libertarianism. I think probably because I was more independent in the past. But anyway.
But somehow she came to believe that if Joe became president, horses full of Greeks would rape our women and Georgia would go communist.
His point is a valid one, right? The idea that if Biden wins, the world ends. If Trump wins, the world ends. And the reason why I wasn't so jumping up and down is because I didn't believe the world ended either way. I never did. I never believed the world would end either way, and it's not going to end this time either. The world is going to end. Are we going to have more bad stuff? Yes, 100%. But the world's not going to end.
She is the tragedy of the modern Republican voter personified. Pissed off at the greed and corruption that, yes, has squeezed the middle class hard.
That's the part I want to keep bringing up. Yes, so many people get mad at the protesters and say, why are they so angry? Because the middle class has been crushed for the past 10 years. That's the reason why. And no one's talking about it. They're talking about things that they're fighting a culture war that, yeah, you care about your culture. I get it. But it doesn't make anybody better. It doesn't help anybody. And that's my problem. It doesn't help anybody.
But always coming up with the wrong answer to who is doing most of this squeezing.
Yep.
She was in financial trouble because in order to keep her business afloat, she resorted to a short-term loan.
She was in debt because her business was collapsing. What did I say so many times is the centralized piece, the biggest piece of all the problems that we had in 2020, the biggest chunk that affected everything, the lockdowns. The lockdowns affected so much. If it wasn't for the lockdowns, she's not dead. I'm not joking when I say that. If it wasn't for the lockdowns, she's not dead. Because if there's no lockdowns, you know what she's doing? She's not in debt and so angry enough to go down there. And she has an open business, so she has to go to work. She can't go down there. She's not dead if we don't have lockdowns. There's no summer protests. There's no summer BLM riots. None of that stuff exists if there's no lockdowns. Lockdowns created all of this and don't even work. And COVID is still crushing us. Still crushing us. Government incompetence at every level is what's been crushing us.
With an interest rate of 169%.
Yep.
That's right. She was being charged 169% interest and went to Washington so she could chant, "Stop the steal."
As you might laugh at that, that's my point. The point is she was trying to find an answer for something, and this gave her something. And she went out there and yelled, "Stop the steal," thinking that was the issue, because she actually believed that the election was being stolen and that was the issue. But it actually wasn't, whether it was stolen or not.
She died for a second Trump term, even though that would have solved exactly none of her problems.
This is my biggest issue. Okay, now Biden is in charge. Does that mean the lockdown stops? Does that mean all of a sudden we get our businesses back that have been lost? Does that mean all the horrible issues that kids have had to deal with by being at home forever? Yeah. Does that mean it comes back all of a sudden? No, it doesn't. Not at all. It doesn't change anything. And that's my issue. So hold on. Let me keep going here. You people actually give me a bunch of great. Let me grab some of these comments. They're so good. A difference of 7 million votes when 160 million people voted is about a 0.5% difference. Yeah, absolutely. So yes. All right. See if I can do this again and grab a couple more of these. Perhaps she shouldn't have been sent there, but her actions dictated her fate. Correct. But it doesn't mean she deserved it. When someone makes a mistake, I would have, what would have worked, Jonathan? What if she had just, I don't know, gotten shot in the leg and been able to recover? Still, bad, but she didn't have to die. That's the issue. I just don't think a death sentence was appropriate. I don't think it was appropriate for her, nor for George Floyd, nor for insert person who made a mistake, insert person who screwed up. I just don't think a death sentence was the appropriate, answer at all. Was not the appropriate at all. So yeah, but I get what you're saying though. Of course. George Floyd would be alive without lockdowns. Yes, because he would have been working, Paul. You're right. He lost his job because of the lockdowns. He would be alive too. I don't know what he'd be doing. I hope he would have had his life on track. Who knows? We're guessing on that. But yes, George Floyd, alive without the lockdowns. That's the center.
The same mistake made by all of her friends in the Waffle House Brigade.
Yeah, see, now he attacked them. And that's the part that I can't stand, right? He attacked. This is the idea that I mentioned when the left will very often just dismiss people. It's the Waffle House Brigade. So now they're dismissed. First off, Waffle House is delicious. That's the first part. I'm just saying it is. If you've been to Waffle House, it's delicious. But the point is, so what if you like Waffle House? So this was a dismissal. This is what I was talking about earlier, Brennan, talking about how people deal with this. The left constantly dismisses. It's their way of doing things. The right calls you a name and attacks you. The left dismisses you.
Guys, you are storming the wrong building.
That's not you should storm no building. See, you went off the rails there, Bill. How about you storm no building? You went off the rails on that one.
The feet up shouldn't have been on Pelosi's desk. They should have been on Trump's tanning bed.
Look, I don't mind that joke because that's a joke that attacks Trump. And I'm okay with that. Trump's the guy on the top. He gets the hate. I got it. No worries. Why do you have to attack? Why do you have to insult his supporters? He just said don't hate them, and then he dismissed them. So a little hypocritical on that one, Bill. You should have just said nothing and moved on.
You thought Trump was going to be your bull in the china shop? Yeah, he was, but you were the china.
That's the problem.
So, should Ashley Babbitt have applied better logic in seeing that her real problem in life wasn't pedophile Democrats or Antifa, and that people like Elizabeth Warren were actually the ones who were at least trying to do something about predatory lending and economic exploitation?
Well, he has a valid point in that. He does. He has a valid point in saying that she was looking at the wrong thing, but he brings up the wrong idea. He says, should she have had better logic to figure this out? No. And what I mean by that is the left and right aren't helping. The right is joining right in the left's culture war, just running right in. They're both doing culture wars against each other, and neither of them's actually talking about anything, right? Elizabeth Warren might be talking about, fixing predatory lending. She might be talking about it, but that's that much of what she ever talks about. The rest is all culture war stuff. They'll talk about culture war stuff. The left has gone out of its way to make you feel that if you're not an educated person from the city, that you're worthless. Literally, he just did it. The Waffle House Brigade. That wasn't done as a descriptor. If he had said, a lot of those people like Waffle House, that would have been a descriptor. He didn't say that. He went to Waffle House Brigade. He dismissed them. Why in the world would Ashley want to join a tribe or a party like that would say she's part of Waffle House Brigade and dismiss them? That's the reason. That's why she couldn't hear anybody else say anything. Because the Republican Party said, I'm happy to take you. Democratic Party said, get away. Now, to be forward, Republicans do the same thing when it comes to people of color. They are not good. The only person who was decent at it at all, believe it or not, was Trump. Some people just think I'm nuts when I say that. But some of those people did. They were okay. The rest, no.
Yes. But not everyone can watch MSNBC all day.
Also true.
She had other priorities like fighting overseas.
Yep.
And
look, now he's giving her respect, which is what he should have been doing, giving her respect the entire time. If the left would spend more time giving the right respect, they'd be more open to hear them. If the right would give the left more respect, the left would be open to hear them. That's the critical issue. Give each side respect, and they will be able to hear you. That's the issue.
Maybe, since all politics is local, all she knew was that she lives in a state that seems to care more about her toxic whiteness than her toxic brokenness. And
yes.
That the state that's run entirely by Democrats?
Yep. This is the part I wanted to say that I thought was so important. The biggest piece of what he's saying is he's actually saying that they were more concerned about her toxic whiteness than her toxic debt. The culture war is what's destroying us because it doesn't help anybody. This is the problem. And we have to fall back and actually instead have real policies that help real people. That's what I really want. Real policies that help real people. Culture war is important. I get it. You feel like your culture is being attacked or lost, whatever. I get it. But in reality, what's going to help you or me is not the culture war. It's actual policies and respect for who we are and trying to get this country back on track. I hope this entire, hour and a half I've been here yapping at you, showing you what the weekend is showing, will let you know exactly what we need to be doing. And it's not culture war. That isn't the answer. It's actually listening to each other. Stop insulting, start talking, realizing that the person in your neighborhood, there's someone in your neighborhood who loves Trump and someone in your neighborhood who hates Trump. That's a guarantee that exists. And some people in your neighborhood who don't care at all, who are like, whatever, and didn't even bother voting. And they're all Americans, and they're all important. Absolutely. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for today. I appreciate everything you guys have put up. Sonia, I wish the left and right would educate instead of insulting. Yes! They get nowhere with by insulting. I agree completely. Absolutely. Thank you. We should end on that, Sonia. You just wrapped the show up. I appreciate that. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for today. We should educate much more than we should insult. We are still all Americans, even though I'm sure some of you drive the others insane. I'm sure I drive some of you insane, 100%. But I hope you know that I care. I hope you all care. I will see you all tomorrow.